Don't sleep on these potential difference makers. That's right. We give you our top 6 fantasy football sleepers for the 2026 NFL season next on the IBT podcast.
I've been going dummy, out of bounds, putting on a clinic. Stick around, carrots in my hardware. KC, caught him in the crosshair. Look at me, been the guy calling Mr. MVP. Keep your ass on the bench by my empty seat. Earn my stripes like I fix this league. Your dog's on the turf, my dog's in the street. You can find me somewhere in between. Never a dull moment like a movie scene. About to do the ops like I did this beat. Let them keep talking RG3. Coming to you live. This is the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast.
All right, and welcome into the In Between Fantasy Football Podcast, your place for both a refreshing and feel-good take on fantasy football and NFL gambling. It's a brand new season of this award-nominated program, which means we're turning the page to 2026 redrafts with our top 6 sleepers that you're too low on. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, coming off a weekend filled with watching some racing, cooking some elite meals, drinking some Busch Light drafts, and handling tax preparation. That's what I call being an older folk now. I'm getting older, or maybe I'm just well-rounded. Back with me is a man who's also as versatile as they come. He's our NFL and entertainment betting expert around these parts. He's Boston's boy, Steve Lawson. Steven, how are you as we begin season 8 of the program?
Season 8, man. And I think I've been here. This is my 3rd season now that I've started with the program, like full time. Award nominated, still feels surreal to me. So much work went into this. So much, like, gotta give props to you and Eric and Kyle, like, who have built this into what it is. And then, bringing me in was honestly shocking, and I'm so excited to be here still. Bringing me on as a guest was one thing, but then you guys were like, oh, stay like full time on the show. And then you didn't fire me. And I'm like, man, what a mistake by you guys. But look, it worked out, and we're vibing now. It's early in the morning as we're getting this done. It's nice. I have, I had my coffee this morning. I got ready. Really? I prepped. I'm just vibing.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, man. Any versatility from you this weekend or signs of getting older? I think I did find my first gray hair as well over the weekend. So definitely showing signs of age. And, as I've mentioned before, I started this show all the way back when I was 21 years old. I was in my college apartment, still, doing it for the student newspaper. So certainly a shift there. Any signs of aging from yourself?
Well, I wouldn't know if I have any gray hair. Not sure. I find a few in my beard now, it's scattered. But I don't know if they're like blonde or gray. You know what I mean? So they kind of
Sure.
But now I'm feeling pretty young, man. I'm feeling good.
Okay. Yeah, you're playing sports on the weekend, still doing.
Yeah, I'm averaging over 30 minutes a game on my basketball team. Still, I'm still putting up the minutes.
Hey, there you go, man. There you go. The only 30 minutes I averaged on these programs, I'll tell you that right about now. And as noted, Steve, we've got our early 2026 sleepers coming everyone's way. This is an area last year where we started key in on some really good values in drafts. Drake May was my early 2025 sleeper. Travis Etienne was on your list last year. So really looking forward to what we can do with that. Also, reminder, no longer going live Tuesdays, 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to still be trying to give you one episode per week. And it will be over on the brand new IBT Podcast YouTube channel. That's right, a new channel just for NFL football all the time. You can subscribe there, youtube.com/@IBT Podcast. It'll still be on the main regular feed as well at the In Between Media YouTube channel, but just a new place where, hey, if you're not into the great entertainment betting, the great NASCAR and racing betting, the golf betting that we have over there, this is just a place for football, just a place for you. So make sure you're checking that out. Help us subscribe, help us grow that channel. We'd really, really appreciate that. Also, you can really, really easily connect with us all the time over at the IBT Football family. That's our premium community where you can get access to chat with our analysts and viewers. And you're also going to get entry into our memorabilia giveaways for absolutely no cost. That is the free tier for you. And then if you want to upgrade for $3.99 per month, for $36 for the year, you can get our full picks and predictions with our weekly NFL and college football betting cards. Already starting to kind of peruse the NFL and college 2026 futures. So we'll have an episode out for that in a couple weeks, but you can get our full cards there. and the touchdown contest will be kicking back off next year. And when you pay that $3.99 or $36 for the year, you're also going to unlock all the benefits for the racing, for the entertainment, and for the golf family as well. We have so much fun stuff happening over in those streets, between the modeling we're doing for all those different genres, or the full picks and predictions, the giveaways, the chatting, or just entry into our contest. We have, in addition to the NFL playoff contest that we just did and the touchdown call contest, we have the PGA One and Done tournament. We have the NASCAR head-to-head tournament going on, and the Survivor 50 Fantasy League. So much good stuff happening over there for you guys to check out. Again, you can join now for free, m-betweenmedia.com/chat. Link is also available in the episode description. Steve, what do you say, though? We go ahead and fire it up with a little Sure Thing sleepers.
I'm hyped. Let's do it.
All right. You might be the middle of winter still, but we're heading back to the coast here with a little Sure Thing.
It's the Sure Thing. Sleepers of the week.
All right. Because I'm a company man, we're using the Fantasy Pros ECR rankings. Again, early, but still accurate from what we know as well. We're looking for players that are 100 plus in the Fantasy Pros ECR. So looking forward to breaking this down. And Steve, I got to say, it's a lot of players that, like, I don't think they're shockers, right? Because they're players that you and I at different times in their careers have been in on, right? And now they're just presenting a really good value. And I think it starts with a guy that you and I, we continue to bet on throughout the season. We continue to say, hey, he was a league winner. You need to go after him. It's Kenneth Gainwell, currently of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're running back, ECR of RB43, 131 overall. And like, again, I said at the top, I'm a company man, but like, I think the Fantasy Pros expert consensus rankers, they're drunk on this one. They absolutely are here, Steve, because Kenneth Gainwell just finished as the PPR RB20 on a points per game basis, even better on a full season outlook level, but averaging 13.3 points per game, better than players like Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson. And like, I get that, like, Breece Hall and Ken Walker, those are going to be, and even your guy Travis Etienne, those are certainly going to be the cream of the crop of this free agency class. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Ken Walker or Travis Etienne go back to where they're from right now, stay put at their teams with how, just versatile and impactful they were down the stretch this year. And that's really going to make way for Rico Dowdle and Kenneth Gainwell here to kind of be this next tier of running back, right, in this free agency class. I think Gainwell is in a prime position to land on a team that needs a running back, but maybe they don't have the cap room to go after Breece Hall, right? I'm thinking like the Texans or the Chiefs. Those would be two, I think, of the best landing spots here. And to me, like, I always thought Kenny G was pretty nice when he was with the Eagles. I was really high on him coming into the season before they got Barkley. He started as the starter, got hurt, lost the job to Swift, never gained it back. But I think he's more than a jag, and I think he proved that this past season. Fifth among running backs in targets with 85, fourth in receptions with 73, and fifth in receiving yards as well. And this wasn't just check down city, right? He was running wheel routes. He was running Texas routes, some really nifty screens Arthur Smith was drawing up for him. And like, part of that was definitely the AS system, right? Like, Arthur Smith does like to use some of these more ancillary players, if you would. And definitely Aaron Rodgers being immobile helps with that. And I won't say it doesn't. However, you look at what he did with that opportunity and the efficiency, Steve, and that's what jumps out to me, not just the op, but second in fantasy points per opportunity, 1.11, seventh in yards per route run with 1.59, sixth in yards per touch with 5.5, fifth in catch rate among running backs, 85.9%, and then fifth in created yards per touch as well. So I think he will certainly rise in rankings when he does land somewhere, but I don't think it will be high enough, and I don't think it'll be fast enough. So sign me up for another year of Kenny G here, man, specifically at this price tag.
Yeah, I like Kenny Gainwell, just depending on where he goes, right? So, like, there is a situation where he could go somewhere and it kind of tanks his value entirely.
Sure,
like, if he signs in Atlanta, not a
Oh,
place you want him to land. But
yeah.
but if he goes somewhere with like a creative play caller or just goes back to Pittsburgh, I'm very optimistic about what could happen in that situation, because while there is a new coaching staff coming into Pittsburgh, there is familiarity amongst the players and what Kenny Gainwell can do for them.
Looking like Aaron Rodgers might be back too is kind of what we're hearing out here in Western Pennsylvania.
That one has me like, that's a whole different thing.
But like, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, but yeah. So I think there's avenues for Kenny Gainwell to really overshoot this again. He's not really that old. He's still, I think, in his 20s. He's a younger
Oh yeah.
guy. So I think he's got some meat left on the bone.
Yeah, and you talk about these running backs that have come out of Memphis and kind of disappoint us. Your boy Antonio Gibson and
That I will never stop blaming Jeff Fisher or Ron Rivera for the downfall of Antonio Gibson. He should have been a
yeah.
stud running back in this league and got absolutely stiffed.
Yeah, and I think Gainwell is the best of that crop, but we've seen, usually the players out of Memphis that are kind of that scat back role not really work, but Gainwell certainly did. So maybe it's a 1-year thing. I'm willing though to, for a 11th, 12th round price tag, I'm willing to get back invested, right? Like that's the player
Sure.
you kind of want, who's going to have a little bit of a floor, has a ceiling as well. So if he lands in the right place, it's a big if, but I think Kenneth Gainwell will once again be a really, really good value in fantasy football leagues. Steve, let's throw it over to you for your first sleeper as well. What do you have for us?
Yeah, I'm going to go to the wide receiver position, specifically out in LA. Trey Harris going off at wide receiver 60
Yeah.
right now, 151 overall. So I know it was kind of a down rookie year. It wasn't exciting by any means, but he was the fourth guy on that roster, right? Like he was the fourth wide receiver in that room because you had Lad McConkey, you had Quentin Johnson, and then you had Keenan Allen coming back trying to break Antonio Gates's reception record. There wasn't a lot left for Trey
Right.
Harris.
Yeah.
But I figure Keenan Allen's either retiring or leaving or taking a reduced role because we saw him fade down the stretch. This is a 6'3" target who over his last 4 games saw 17 targets, 10 catches, and 140
Hmm.
yards. He is
Wow.
a big physical receiver. We saw him make plays that even when he caught the ball short, his after the catch ability, because he's so strong, allowed him to push forward, move the chains, be that consistent chain mover. With Mike McDaniel in the fold now, he's going to want that guy. We've seen him find ways, in creative ways especially, to get all his receivers involved. There is plenty to eat in a Mike McDaniel offense. I know he's a run-first guy and Harbaugh's a run-first guy,
Yeah.
but it's going to take 3, 4, 5 touches a game for these wide receivers to really explode. And I see that in Trey Harris's future.
I mean, Trey Harris was a prospect, I think, as a whole, we were high on as a program, right? Like some of these metrics that we're looking at that are a little bit underneath the surface when it comes to collegiate production, like yards per route run, this guy was towards the top of the board. And that removes some of these factors, like playing in a Lane Kiffin offense is obviously going to boost your numbers, right? So I think there is a lot of meat left on the bone for Trey Harris. They just spent a 2nd round pick on him as well. So like we can't forget that this is a day 2 prospect that has some serious draft capital behind him. And you mentioned the magic word there. It's Mike McDaniel, right? Like I've said for years, like Greg Roman is not your answer. He's not a Super Bowl quality type of offensive coordinator, not one of those brilliant play callers. Mike McDaniel is that, man. And yeah, they got Marion Hampton. We'll see if Najee can get back healthy this season as well, coming off the major injury. But there is room there for Trey Harris, right? There is room, and it's going to be a big year for him because what he does is really going to decide, hey, do we extend Quentin Johnston or not, right? So I think they're going to get him involved early and often. I still think like it's likely going to be the 3 wide receiver sets that he's on, right? Like I don't think he's going to push Lad or QJ off of like the X or the Z in 2 wide receiver sets. So, it might be a smaller type of snap share, but even if he's, I imagine Lad in that point would kind of come in and play the slot in those 3 wide receiver sets and let Trey play the outside. But even if he's playing a power slot, man, like that would be a really nice place for Trey Harris, a guy who really excelled over the middle on some intermediate balls at Ole Miss. So yeah, I like this call a lot. And it's especially the case because how many times do we see 2nd, 3rd year wide receivers that we kind of seemingly forget about in fantasy football, and then all of a sudden they kind of break out, and it's that post-hype type of sleeper that you're going for here with Trey Harris.
Yeah, it's definitely a trend that we're seeing more recently too, right? Like we're seeing guys take a little bit longer at the NFL level. I think defenses are a little more complicated to game plan against now in terms of getting your wide receivers open. And I think we're going to see Trey Harris take that step.
Next up, we have a receiver to me that I think is just being criminally undervalued. It's Xavier Worthy of the Chiefs, ECR wide receiver 51, 122 overall. Because, we talked about the Chiefs. They're kind of in cap hell right now, right? They seriously are. They have the least cap room available of any team. They're in the hole, $57 million right now. So they're going to have to make some decisions. Some of these veteran wide receivers, see a Hollywood Brown, you're probably gone. Who knows if Travis Kelce's back or not? I don't think he's going to be. Just A, I don't think they can afford him, and B, I think like, hey, this is your time to kind of ride off in the sunset, with Taylor Swift. And I think in general, like they're not going to be adding the receiving core in free agency. And like, yes, they have an early draft capital pick this year, but I'd be shocked if they went out and caught like a Jordan Tyson or, had the stones to trade up for a Carnell Tate or something like that. I really think they need to continue to address the offensive line, an issue that has been there for really the last half decade of this team. The defense is getting older as well. So I think all that to say, like Xavier Worthy should line up as the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver 2 this upcoming season. And I get it, like super disappointing as a sophomore for the former Longhorn, right? Regressed across the board to 73 targets, 42 receptions, and just one total touchdown, right? So not what you wanted to see. However, yards per game, catch rate, yards per target, very much similar to the year before. It's just that Matt Nagy and Papa Bear Andy Reid, they didn't need to utilize him. They didn't know how to utilize him once Rashee Rice came back and took over that Rashee Rice role. However, the Wicked Witch is dead here. Matt Nagy's gone. He's in New York now. It's Eric Bieniemy who returns to the team, who has always been a guy who can really get the most out of the creative type players like Xavier Worthy. We also can't talk about Worthy and not talk about the elephant in the room with Rice, like facing an alleged domestic violence charge after already owes 30 days of jail time from that 2024 Dallas car crash. I'm not sure if he's doing weekends or how he's going to do that, but this is a guy who I wouldn't be surprised if he misses some games due to some legal implications once again. And regardless, I think the opportunity has to improve, man, because the Chiefs don't want to be running out Mahomes as much coming off the ACL. And Worthy's a legit guy, first round pick from 2024, ran a 4.21 second 40 time as well. And like, look at this opportunity, Steve. Like this was horrendous. 73 targets, 5.2 per game. That's 50th best among wide receivers. Target share, 16%, 57th. Target rate, 18.6%. Snap share, all the way down at 72.1%, 51%. So I think in his third year, he's going to play more of a full-time role. I'm expecting that snap share to climb up to 85, 90%. And he'll be on the field more. We need to see him improve as a blocker so he can get there. But I think like expect some positive touchdown regression. I expect some more creative usage with Eric Bieniemy there. And also like you and I have talked about, like Patrick Mahomes' deep ball has been absolutely god awful, except when he was taking some deep shots occasionally this past year. But it felt like really for the most part, like that has kind of come down. So maybe he can improve that while he's kind of rehabbing that knee, and it's not just Tyquan Thornton to the house. Like that was the only time it felt like he really had success going deep. So I think the weekly upside of Worthy is someone I want to get into my roster, into my lineup, especially in the 11th round. Like he has no floor right now, but if we can improve the floor and it still matches with that ceiling, I'm here back in on Xavier Worthy in the 11th round, Steve.
I like it, especially, I mean, I was waiting for you to mention the Rashee Rice thing, right? Like, that's really going to make the difference. And I can't imagine they are going to go out and get a wide receiver in the first round because there's holes on that offensive line that need to be addressed so badly because they need to keep Patrick Mahomes upright, right? And I think
they need a running back too.
They need a running back. They need other things. Like when they had no running game this year at all, which actually does make me a little worried about Worthy because where they were so reliant on the pass, he still didn't show up.
Yeah, that's a good point. They were like fourth or I think they were top 6 in pass attempts per game. Yeah.
Here's what I would say about Xavier Worthy, and he reminds me a lot of the previous record holder for the fastest 40-yard dash, John Ross. I think he's a burner. I think he's a bad route runner. And that's where I'm running into issues with Xavier Worthy. Now, maybe they get creative. They use him on jets. They do all that stuff. That would be great. But I'm not entirely sold on Xavier Worthy, speaking as someone who got burned by him a few times this year.
Okay. No, it's totally understandable. I just don't know if there are players that deep in drafts with that much upside. I think in Worthy is, this is still a guy, even with the Rashee Rice suspension and not being suspended and all that back and forth. Like he was going anywhere from the 3rd to 7th round. So if you did take him early, and there's going to be a lot of people who are gun shy on him like you, right? Who were burned last year and they don't want to get back invested because they probably dropped him. So Steve, take me back to the wide receiver position and another player who could potentially maybe be on the move this offseason.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Romeo Doubs, the wide receiver currently of the Green Bay Packers, but who knows? He's going at wide receiver 64, 163 overall. this is so much like the stats don't totally back it up. He had about 750 yards receiving this year, which is not world beating, but in that Green Bay offense, honestly, that's pretty good. You're looking at an offense that is wide receiver by committee. It's the only offense in the league that is truly a committee at wide receiver. And then Christian Watson kind of started to separate himself out of the pack there. This is a guy who will never be a star wide receiver, but certainly is a guy who could be a solid number 2 kind of guy that's going to be your chain mover, your possession receiver, going to get you a couple touchdowns here or there. He'll have those bigger games. He's good in the red zone. He's just a crisp route runner that I really enjoy watching play.
Yeah.
And there's a few places that I think he could really land and kind of build something and give teams something that they are inherently missing. I think teams like San Francisco could really use a Romeo Doubs. I think teams like New England could use a Romeo Doubs. You look at Baltimore, probably could use a Romeo Doubs. Like there are teams that really could use this guy that are legit teams, like with good quarterback, good play calling, all that stuff that could use a guy like this. I would be shocked if he ends up back in Green Bay. I don't think he's going to command a gajillion dollars. I think he's going to be one of those, mid-range, high teen kind of wide receiver paydays. I know the cap's going up, so maybe that gets blown out of proportion a little bit, but I do see brighter days ahead for Romeo Doubs, certainly better than wide receiver 64.
No, I absolutely agree with you. And the crazy part about this is this is kind of similarly to where he was ranked last year. And he outproved his ECR and ADP last year, right, Steve? Like, he was a guy, people were taking the shot on Matthew Golden in the 7th to 10th round. People were taking the shot on Jaden Reed somewhere between that 9th and 12th round. Nobody wanted Romeo Doubs. He was going undrafted or 15th, 16th round. And he was someone I was actually higher than consensus last year. And I wanted to keep moving up the board, but I struggled, right? Because there is just this litany of pass catchers there in Green Bay. Like, we even mentioned, Christian Watson and Xavier Williams, the guys who can break out at any moment. Yeah. So I do agree that I think Doubs could be, just because he's a steady X, but he's like better. He's a better X than players like a Matt Collins, right? Or at this point in his career, a DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like those are the types of roles I think he can play, where he's never going to be a true volume guy, but I think he's someone who commands 6 targets per game. He has a really solid floor, and maybe that ceiling gets unlocked a bit more when he goes to a new offensive system. So I really, really like the call here for Romeo Doubs. He's been a super solid contributor since his time in the G5, comes to the NFL, works pretty much right away as a rookie, and kind of gets banged up a little bit there, but he's been super consistent. And even if, I'll say this, Steve, even if he ends up in Green Bay, like, you kind of have to take him at that price too, right? Because he was a guy who people were starting down the stretch, right? And those are hard to find when you get to wide receiver 60 plus. So one of my favorite calls of the day from you there, my friend. And I have one more wide receiver sleeper, and it's actually a rookie. Right now, he's ECR wide receiver 11 in rookie ranks, 20 overall. Not even in most redraft rankings right now. Antonio Williams out of Clemson. This is a player that I just don't think he's got enough looks here, whether it's dynasty or redraft early in the season, man. Like, I get it. He's 5'11", he's 190. So he certainly profiles as a slot wide receiver at this next level, right? But at the same time, he's a player where good things happen when you get him the ball. A 125.4 quarterback rating when targeted this past season. This guy, to me, Steven, why I think you'll like him a lot too when he gets to this next level, true technician, right? Like, I think if we said, hey, route runner for route runner, he's top 3 in this class when it just comes down to purely getting off the line. And I think he's also awesome in navigating traffic across the middle. While he's undersized, he can take those hits from linebackers and safeties and hang on to the ball. And he's got potentially 4.4 or lower speed, right? Like, he can play really, really well in that short area with that quickness, and he can go deep. Like, he's not a true home run hitter, but at the same time, he can really take the top off of defense. So what I love about Williams, though, is just like the track record of success. This isn't a one-year wonder. This isn't a Chris Brazzell type of situation, Steve. As a true freshman, 56 receptions, 604 yards, 4 touchdowns, earned all freshman All-American honors, then carried that production throughout his entire career. He was banged up a couple times, specifically his junior year. her sophomore year, excuse me, comes back as a junior, then leads the ACC in touchdowns with 11, finished third in receptions with 75 as well. And then this past season, gets hurt in week 1. Very, very tough loss for that Tigers offense. And I know you're an ACC boy, so you notice like this Clemson offense without him, terrible. I mean, they couldn't even put up points against Troy, right? And as soon as he comes back, they finally started getting in a groove a little bit. It was a little too late for their college football postseason and bowl hopes, but at the same time, like this guy is such a Swiss Army knife. He can get it done on the ground. He can get it done on the return game. So he kind of gives you like that Chimry DK level upside that we saw this last season, Steve, where it was like you and I kept trying to make DK a thing. And he would go out there and put up 27 points in a week because he'd get a receiving touchdown, maybe a rushing touchdown, maybe a return touchdown. But the floor wasn't there. But I actually think there's a path where he has this, let's go back to Rashee Rice type of floor. Rashee Rice was drafted on day 2. He went late or undrafted in fantasy drafts, but put up legit wide receiver 1 numbers. I don't think I want to go that far with Williams, but I think he could do wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2 numbers in the right offense. Steve, do you like Antonio Williams from a prospect standpoint? And is there a desired landing spot you would have for someone like him?
Yeah, I love Antonio Williams as a prospect, so much so that I would say, like, frequently we hear, and this is going to sound insane, but just roll with me for a second here. We hear people always looking for the next Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Makai Lemon has been labeled that. It's not Makai Lemon. It's Antonio Williams. This guy, if he doesn't get hurt this year, I think puts up monster numbers and is a first-round pick all day, including Sunday. This is a guy who, you're right, is an absolute technician. Is he going to blow the top off of defense? Probably not. He'll get his occasional deep ball and stuff like that. But this is a guy who is going to master getting himself open, breaking those zones that people are running a lot more now. The NFL has shifted from man-to-man to a zone quite a bit. We're seeing like the Seattle Seahawks kind of set that trend heavy where they're running these heavy zone concepts. This is a guy who can break that. He can get away from man-to-man, but he can break a zone. He is absolutely built for this. And if you look at the way he's sized, 5'11", 190, that's very similar to Amon-Ra St. Brown. He is profiles a lot like him. I do think he's going to be just about as fast as Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. As far as landing spots, you want him to go somewhere that is going to utilize the slot. Again, New England. Josh McDaniels getting a slot receiver, a slot maven. That would be the ideal landing spot. You look at what happened in the Super Bowl, no one could get open. No one could get open. New England got absolutely torched in the Super Bowl because no one could get open and they had to hold the ball. You get Antonio Williams in there, someone who can get open in a split second, right off the line, won't get pressed too hard. He's stronger than he looks, able to make those quick cuts. That's where you want someone like Antonio Williams to land, and that's how you build the next Amon-Ra St. Brown.
I love it. I love it, man. I honestly do. And specifically because I think there are a lot of good landing spots like that. I mean, what happens if he lands somewhere like Pittsburgh that desperately needs a wide receiver too? What about the Las Vegas Raiders who just need a wide receiver now?
They need anybody, yeah.
Yeah, pair him with Fernando Mendoza. Like there are so many good opportunities for him out there. I think New England might be the best. Like him and Drake May. That is chef's kiss, my friend. So love that. Let's go ahead, round us out. You have one more sleeper for 2026, a guy we actually touched on from a dynasty perspective a few weeks ago on the podcast, but you also think has redraft value as well.
Yeah, and he's coming in right under the wire of our they have to be under 100. This will not last much longer. So if you're going to make this move and you're going to get Parker Washington, now is the time to do so. This is a man who in the playoffs at the time when the Jaguars needed someone to do something, right? This is when all the marbles are there. 12 targets, 7 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. He also had 2 rushing attempts that didn't really go for anything. So it was like 2 yards. But still, that's 9 touches on 14 manufactured looks, right? Like 14 looks. He also, in the last 4 games of the regular season, 32 targets, 22 receptions, roughly 400 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This was not like a single pop-off Gabe Davis kind of thing where it was like, oh my God, he had this amazing playoff game. This was a guy who absolutely showed when it was time, like someone had to be the guy, and it wasn't Brian Thomas Jr. Then it was Jacoby Myers for a week, and they traded for him, and we're like, oh, it's going to be Jacoby Myers. No, it's Parker Washington. He is good at every level. He's fast enough to take the top off the defense. He's big enough to make those contested catches, and then his route running is strong enough that he can go over the middle. and he's not afraid. Where Brian Thomas Jr. really struggled is he got alligator arms, right? He was afraid to take that hit over the middle. That kills you as a wide receiver. And listen, that is not a knock. I totally understand why someone wouldn't want to get absolutely obliterated over the middle of the football field by those absolute torpedoes that we call safeties. Parker Washington has no fear. He has no, like, he is in it to win it, baby. And I am absolutely all in on buying Parker Washington this offseason.
Yeah, I'm here for it, man. Honestly, like he's someone in my redrafts. If I need a wide receiver 4, if I need a wide receiver 3, I'm interested in. And you kind of even bury the lead that, and maybe it's because like I don't think we both buy it certainly, but there are reports that Travis Hunter is going to primarily work as a cornerback this season and be a spot start at wide receiver. I don't really see that when you just turn on the tape of what Travis Hunter did in his limited sample size. I think they need him at wide receiver. I could see if they do want to play him at wide receiver, though, it's like, hey, let's move off BTJ, right? So there are a lot of opportunities for Parker Washington. And even if it's still the same 4 Packer receivers, like we heard Liam Cohn come out on Radio Row at the Super Bowl say, once we got Jacoby Myers, it kind of changed our whole passing game. Well, because it allowed Parker Washington to do what he does best, right? And I think he's a guy, I mean, 3 of his last 4 games went for over 100 yards, Steve. And the one that didn't was 87 yards and a touchdown, right? This is a legit guy. He was really, really decent at Penn State, kind of fell off his senior year a little bit, didn't have as much production. Jahan Dotson always a bit overshadowed him, but he was a big-time special team contributor for Jacksonville throughout his early career. And now he's getting these reps on the offensive side of the ball where he's really shown out, man. And it felt like down the stretch, Jacoby Myers and him became Trevor Lawrence's guys, right? So I'm excited to see what he can continue to do. I think he's a great value. A lot of shifting and shaking likely coming in his ADP. That's, as you mentioned, one thing to keep in mind. We'll see how that progresses throughout the offseason, what Travis Hunter's role will actually be in this offense. Will Brian Thomas Jr. stay with the Jacksonville Jaguars as well? But yeah, I'm definitely in on Parker Washington. Hashtag we are Penn State, baby. So Steven, great stuff for you as always, man. I know we got a lot of good entertainment content coming up on the channel over at Popcorn Root Beer this week. Anything in particular? I know last week, what were we doing last week? We did Valentine's Day.
Last week we did Valentine's Day. We did February movies.
Okay. And then this week, Sinners Rewatch, is that right?
Sinners Rewatch is next week. We're doing a rewatch of Black Phone. It's on Netflix, just dropped on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
And we are tapping into the horror market. Jake and I are very excited. And all you babies at IBT didn't want to join us because it's too scary.
Yep, I watched the trailer and I was said nope, not for me. Also, Steve, a lot of good stuff coming on the In Between Fantasy Football podcast channel right now as well. We're going to do a Dynasty rookie mock draft here with Eric. That'll be out in the next couple of days as well. You can keep an eye out for that. And of course, we still have NASCAR betting, PGA betting ramping up here as the seasons continue. And we want to do this to help you cash more and also just enjoy the ride along the way, right? We play fantasy sports. We sports bet because it's fun, because it brings us together as a community. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in today. Please check out in-betweenmedia.com for some dope written content. Join the Discord for free as well. We got a lot of stuff happening over there at in-betweenmedia.com/chat. For my friend, Stephen Lawson, I am Seth Woolcock. Thank you so much for watching and keep it in between. Until next time, y'all.